I'd like to call to order the meeting of the Rules, Policy, and Industrial Relations Committee for May 23rd, 2022. Madam Secretary, can you please call the roll?
Thank you. Good morning, everybody. Director Devlin?
Here.
Director Hardiman?
Here.
Barbarina?
Here.
Hill?
Yeah.
Parr?
Present.
Here?
Here.
Vice Chair Moulton Peters is not here. Chair Hernandez?
Here.
And President Cochran?
Here.
Thank you. You have a quorum, and you are actually a committee of the whole. In the room, we also have directors Maston, Rabbit, Rodoni. And that's it. Thank you.
Thank you. Welcome, everyone. Colleagues, today we have a couple of items. First is item number 3 on the agenda, which is to approve federal fiscal years 25-26 through 27-28 overall disadvantaged business enterprise goal on Federal Transit Administration assisted project. And for that, we have our Tuesday report. Thank you so much for being here. Good morning. Welcome.
Morning. Morning, everyone.
Morning to you.
Nice to be here. Thank you for allowing the time for me to be here this morning before you to recommend a couple items here pertaining to the district's overall disadvantaged business enterprise or DBE goal. As Director Hernandez mentioned, for federal fiscal years 2025 to 2026 through 2027 through 2028, applicable to Federal Transit Administration assisted contracts. So I am before you recommending that the establishment of the district's proposed 1.1% race neutral DBE goal that is applicable to 27,520,000 in anticipated contracts, FTA-assisted contracts over the upcoming 3 fiscal years. Also authorize the general manager to publish the notice of the proposed goal on the district's website, and to also authorize the general manager to adopt the overall DBE goal if there are no further recommendations or changes that the district should consider to that proposed goal. And then finally, authorize staff to submit the district's overall DBE goal methodology to FTA by August 1st of this year. Before I get started and jump into the summary of how we came up with this proposed goal, I do want to take the time to thank those all that was involved in this goal setting process. This process is not fun. It is very lengthy, and it requires a lot of departments and bodies and brains to come up with this goal methodology. So I would like to thank our engineering department, our ferry division, our procurement staff, and our capitals and grant staff, and everyone else that was involved in this goal setting process. So with that, I'll just jump right into it. The proposed goal, the district did took a 2-step approach to this goal setting process. Normally, if your step 1 is reasonable and realistic, you can adopt your step 1 process. The step 2 is not required. However, the district did have to go to a step 2 adjustment. And so just real quick, a summary of how to do this goal calculation. It is a prescribed formula, so it's not numbers that we're calculating out of our head to say, oh, yeah, this seems like it makes sense. It is a prescribed formula, so you're taking the most common way to figure out this, the goal or availability of DBEs is to use your state's Unified Certification Program, or for us in California, it's the CUCP. Database, which is your DBE directory. And then you're going to take your county business pattern data, which gives you the number of all establishments for all the NAICS codes that are applicable to your overall goal. So the district did identify 13 NAICS codes across the 16 maritime contracts that we are including in this goal. And out of those, there's 11 dry docking and capital improvement projects across all of our ferry vessels. So with that, we took the county business pattern, we divided the number of DBEs into the all establishments. And I do want to mention, because this will explain why we came up with the step 1 of 47.7% goal. When you're adding in your all firms to your the county business pattern data, that data is from 2022. So, and to ensure that DBEs that might have been certified last year or, a couple months ago, we include that number of DBEs into the all establishment firms to make sure that they get accounted for. Why this is important is because when we looked at the shipbuilding and repair NAICS code, the 336611, there's one DBE that's certified in the district's local market area. In the county business pattern data, there was 0. So again, with our practice for adding back in the DBEs to make sure everyone is accounted for, it gives, I'm sorry, is that me or is that, I'm so sorry. All right. So with that, adding back those DBEs into that all business data, you get 1 of 1, which gives you 100%. So in simple terms, what that means is this one DBE firm would be capable of performing as a prime in all of the subcontracting areas under the 336611 NAICS code, the shipbuilding and repair work. So we know that that's not realistic. I have contacted the DBE just to inquire a little bit more of the services they provide, and they are a startup company that just was pretty recently certified. So with that, as you can see in our step 1, we came out with a 47.7% step 1. When you establish the goal, recipients are required to meet that goal every year of the fiscal period. So every year we would be expected to meet 47.7%. Again, not realistic, so we did make some adjustments. You can make some adjustments in your step 2 by past participation or the capacity of DBEs to perform on your contracts. And then so when there is a calculation for figuring out your past participation by taking your historical median percentage, adding that to your step 1 and then dividing by 2. Again, that calculation was still high and unrealistic. And if you look through the report, you can see there's a table for race gender neutral measures for the district's goal attainment. And with the exception of last year, because we made our goal only because of construction project, but the previous years, you can see we fell short of the goal. And that is because the similar contracts that are in this current goal have been similar in the past, and this has been our achievements, very low, less than 1% and only 1% in 2020 and 2021. So with that, we had to make this realistic and really offer viable opportunities for DBEs, and so then we did that step 2 adjustment. The goal methodology is a draft of that goal methodology is on the district's website if you want to see further of how we refine these contracts. All of the shipping dry dock, scheduled dry dock, and I say this so many times, I'm getting tongue-tied. The scheduled dry docking and capital improvement projects, those projects, they at least 94% is expected to be performed by a prime, again, across all of our ferry vessels. So we eliminated that work. And then we made adjustments. So we made adjustments to those ferry contracts, and then we made adjustments to the Gangways and Pier Sausalito construction project. This project has been cycled through in previous goal setting cycles for the reasons of just working out some details with the city of Sausalito. In addition to COVID, we experienced what COVID did to us, and so staff pivoted to other priorities. And then just recently, staff has reinitiated this project, but however, it does require additional environmental studies. And so that's why you'll see this contract has been carried over, I think, for the past 6-9 years or so. So we made adjustments to that. We've done research and reached out to the DBE certified to see if they could perform as a prime or on some of the subcontracting areas. Engineering staff as well as the DBE office have conducted this research. And every time they do it, we come back to the same results. The DBEs do not have the capacity to perform as a prime, and they're very limited in 2 of the subcontracting opportunities for the pile driving and then the hydraulic installation work. So we eliminated that work too because it's not realistic to put something out there that we know we're not going to get the participation on. So we adjusted that project, and that is why we come from 47.7% to now a 1.1%, which is realistic for the district pertaining to our maritime contracts. So with that, the process does, you have to consult with the public on your proposed goal and at least hold an open comment period for at least 30 days. The proposed goal must be required by the law, regulations, has to be posted on the district's website, as well as instructions on how to comment. And so we did hold several outreach events. We held a virtual public participation consultation meeting, and that's with your community-based organizations. We have a discussion with them first to find out the availability of DBEs and non-DBEs, as well as the challenges that the community is facing, as well as how we can work together to level the playing field as much as possible to present opportunities or what our community-based organizations how they can help us really get that participation on our contracts. So we held that on May 7th, and then right after, about an hour later after that, or 2 hours later after that event was over, we did a stakeholder virtual event. So this is open to DBEs, contractors, agencies, and then we just kind of go over the same information. However, in this meeting, we went through the goal setting. We did a goal setting exercise. Because it's very important to understand the root, to understand the why. And so when we get a lot of questions of why are the goals so low, how can you go from, 40-something% to, 1%? It doesn't, it sounds embarrassing, but again, you have to understand the why. So we went through that goal setting exercise to kind of break that down of how it does actually make sense. So we did that on May 7th, and then we also offered an in-person stakeholder meeting, and we held that at the Bay Area Metropolitan Transportation Commission on May 13th. Again, went through the same presentation. All of the presentations, registration lists, and recordings for the virtual events are on the district's website on the BOC webpage. Just click on Doing Business, and you'll see the Business Outreach Committee to your left, and you can find those materials there. And so we'll continue to talk about our proposed goal should the board approve it. And there is another event coming up that Samtrain Caltrain is hosting a consultation for their triennial goal. The district will be present for that and have their drafted the goal methodology and proposed goals. So we'll continue to outreach and notify the public. And I'm available for any questions. I believe that is pretty much the gist of the report. At attachment A, you can see all of the contracts that were included in the goal. And then attachment B is that notice that we're requesting you authorize staff to publish on its website. So
Thank you very much.
you're welcome.
That was a very comprehensive, wonderful report. Colleagues, are there any questions? Yes, Dr. Master.
Yeah, just a quick question.
Yes.
Very good report. I agree.
Thank you.
Do you anticipate any changes coming down from the feds relative to anything relative to DBEs similar to what they've done with DEI?
Yes. So it's very important to understand there is a difference. DEI is different than the DBE program, although it could be considered a DEI initiative because it is geared for minorities in gender, based on minority groups and gender. The last time I think I was before you giving you an update, there is that case against Mid-America Milling Company against USDOT, where the judge has set some injunctions on 25 states. California right now is not one of them. A couple of days ago, I believe the judge approved a motion for DBEs to now be included in that case, so now they can be represented. They are really reaching out to your state senators to really help to preserve this program because it is heavily being challenged across the nation for these states, they're not putting DBE goals on their contracts because they can't if these companies are interested in doing business. So I do, if the infrastructure bill is that's coming up due for reauthorization, I believe next year, we're trying, or the community is really trying to get this program preserved and to fight for it. Because if it's not reauthorized, then of course we imagine that the program will either go away or it'll be restructured. There's a bit of uncertainty there, but it's important to keep the two separated because the DBE regulations, it's still law as of today until it's not.
If I may, the item before you is full compliance with current federal law and regulation. Executive orders can change prior executive orders, which has happened in some portions of this space, but the executive order cannot change law. So as already been said, in the reauthorization, they may, change some things, but at this juncture, we have to follow the law in this regard. Separate from this, the grant agreements have been changed by FTA, Federal Highways, and the other agencies. So they're clearly saying that you need to comply with the law, but you should not go beyond the law. And so that is something that our legal counsel is spending a considerable amount of effort with our staff navigating. But this item, just to be clear, fully complies with today's laws and regulations and does not create any legal problems for the district.
Thank you, Tima and Dennis.
Yes, thank you. Any other questions or comments for Tima? Yes, Director Theo.
Thank you. I have a comment. Tina, this is amazing as usual.
Thank you.
And I'm very impressed by the past performance. I want to call out a couple things in your report. When we look at the numbers for 2023 to 2024, this district and Tina has shown a 200% achievement. That is 200% over of the goal. So that is actually amazing. The goal was set at 1.4% for 2022-2024, and we achieved 2.8%. That is because of Tina's and our district's work. In addition, I wanted to note that by my rough calculation, 4.6 million has gone to Marin and Sonoma counties, which is fantastic if we all look at the attachment A. And I did a rough calculation, so don't hold me to those numbers. The most important thing is that establishing the overall proposed 1.1% DBE goal would allow for $27.52 million going to small businesses. Now, small businesses are how this district and all of us create jobs. Small businesses, for those of you who might not know, are actually 4.2 million small businesses comprise 99.9% of all the business in the state of California. These are companies that may have 1, 2, 3, maybe 10 people. And every job that they create is a job in all of our communities that feeds families. And in this kind of dire economic and very unpredictable time, this is where we need to be putting our efforts and our dollars. And Tina, I don't know how you've done this, but I see a lot of, exceeding the percentages historically over 100%. There's some years where, probably because of the scopes of work that were let out, there just were not DBEs that do that type of work. Big case in point is dredging. And, that's because small companies can't afford the equipment and it's a lot of money to get into those types of businesses. But the achievement that you and this district has shown is remarkable. And I look forward to the future. I look forward to working with you in this district to create jobs that really make a difference.
Thank you. Thank you. And if I may just comment, this is something that we talked about in our stakeholder meetings is that the goal is only applicable to the federal funds. It does not even account for the money that the district spends with DBEs on non-federal contracts. So that is, we do have that as a little footnote in our presentation. So keeping in mind that, it's only applicable to the federal contracts, and we spend substantial amount of money in our ferry division with federal funds. So thank you. I appreciate your comment. Thank you.
Thank you, Director Thiel. Anyone else with a question or comment? Okay, seeing none, I will just say that, yes, thank you, colleagues, for your thoughtful comments, and I agree with all of you. But I want to say an additional thank you to Tima and your team. When you started out acknowledging, the amount of effort it took to prepare for the meeting and the amount of contact that you had to have across the district to collaborate on getting this report together. And I also want to thank all of those people that were involved. Certainly you and your immediate team doing all of that work to put this together. I know what it feels like when you've done so much work and you put your heart and soul into something and you have to only present just 3 pages of it. It doesn't really reflect, the work product, the effort. So I want to let you know that we all acknowledge and
You're not fast, right?
Right. Everything that's in here in a very condensed way. But I also wanted to say, the 1.1%, it seems very small, and but as we all know, this NAICS code that applies to shipping and shipbuilding and repairs. Yes. It's a very limited scope that, as you pointed out, in many ways is very hard for small businesses to be able to perform within that arena. So we certainly understand. And for those in the group who are not aware, Tima's middle name should be Outreach. She's Ms. Outreach. She works with Business Outreach Committee. She represents the district very well within transit communities area-wide. And she does not only the outreach that she specified, but I've actually personally attended some of the trainings that you provided for the wider community to help folks dip their toe in and see if it's something that they can do with regard to the shipbuilding and maritime industry. It is a very, very high bar. It made me shudder, the amount of money and the amount of investment that you have to make if you're trying to figure out how to enter this industry.
Yes.
The bonding and insurance alone, let alone bonding equipment that would help you to do hydraulics and drag piles or whatever else is required that typically required for this industry. So wanted just to recognize you for that, for your efforts there. And based on what I experienced and I wouldn't be surprised if there's somebody out there trying to put their business plan together. And I know you provided lots of resources for them to follow up on that as well. So thank you for all that work. I see another hand. Director Hill.
Tina, you're doing a wonderful job of walking the tightrope.
Thank you. Appreciate you.
All right. Anyone else? Okay. Seeing none, we'll go to public comment.
We have no speakers on this item.
Okay, great. There is a motion required on this item. Can I have a motion?
So moved. Second.
Thank you. The item's been moved and seconded. Let's all vote by saying aye. If you're aye.
Aye.
Is there anyone opposed? Seeing no one opposed, this item carries. Thank you very much. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much, everyone. Have a beautiful day.
Thank you. You as well.
Thank you.
Okay, colleagues, let's move on to the next item, which is item number 4 on your agenda, approve actions relative to the table of organization in the engineering department. And John Everly, welcome to the table. Please present your home first today.
Morning, any members of the committee. So the item before you is a recommendation for a reorganization in the engineering department. The recommendation is to eliminate one vacant position in the table of organization. That's a deputy district engineer position. And then establish 4 new positions. One would be a new directing civil engineer. Then there would be 2 new senior civil engineer positions and 1 new associate engineering inspector position. And the recommendation is then to amend the table of organization accordingly. And actions will be funded through salary savings in the current fiscal year and then budgeted appropriately in future. years. So, everyone knows next week, birthday, 88 years, right?
Not expecting us to say that.
Anyway, next week, the bridge turns 88 years. Also, our facilities, ferry facilities and bus facilities are over 50 years old. So I'm over 50 years old. So we all need maintenance work, right? As some of you saw yesterday, when we went to the finance committee, we have a large number of capital improvement projects that are not only in next fiscal year, but if you look at the 5 and 10-year plan, to maintain our facilities and make sure that we have a state of good repair for all of our facilities. In addition, we have a large number of large projects, the biggest one being the seismic retrofit. We spoke about that a little bit yesterday. The suspension bridge. We also have some other large projects. We have the San Rafael Transit Center coming up. We are trying to get the South Toledo Ferry facility that Tima just spoke about underway. But we also have San Francisco Ferry facility, Larkspur Ferry facility. We also have a zero emission bus program with a lot of infrastructure work coming up. So there's a large program of big projects in addition to all the maintenance and other projects, state of good repair projects that are there. And due to the size and complexity of some of these projects, we need some additional staff and resources. We need staff with the expertise and experience to perform of these. So that's why it's proposed that why I'm proposing to restructure the engineering department. This will allow us to again continue doing our inspections, continue doing our capital improvements and maintenance programs over the years. So the positions, deputy district engineer position will be eliminated. The directing civil engineer will be primarily for these large bus and ferry improvement projects. Then the 2 senior positions will assist that directing civil engineer. The associate will also assist that, but the associate will also be assisting all of the other directing engineers, primarily in the facility, either inspection or doing contract administration and field inspection work. So there's a table showing what's being eliminated and what's being added. I also do want to point out, though, that even with these additions, we will still have a need for outside consultants for certain expertise that we do not have in-house. And so those will be on an as-needed basis and will come before the board when needed. And with that, I'm happy to answer any questions you may have.
Thank you very much, John. Questions or comments from colleagues? Depart.
Thank you, John. You know, Amy used to come in and want to restructure the department. It seemed like every month. And I thought it was Ava, but it must be something inherent in the engineering department. And in a way that's kind of a funny question, but what is it about the engineering department that they keep changing the job descriptions, keep changing the people that you need? I understand that your work is ever changing, but is there a time when there would be some generic title that would handle the majority of the changes that we do? It's okay if the answer is no. I'm just curious.
First, being an engineer, we all like to make our own little boxes and build our own things. So
I think that's the answer. Thank you.
So I think that's part of it. And we envision things being done differently. But I just think with the workload that we have, it changes, right? It's been changing over the years. And with the workload that we see coming up, I just think there's a need to organize it differently to get the work that we have to perform. And I also think reorganizing it this way does create some opportunity for our staff for some personal development. By having it broken out this way, so I'm trying to do that too.
Thank you. Thank you. Any other questions or comments? No. Okay. Seeing no more questions or comments, thank you, John, for your report. I really appreciate the graphs and the new org chart. That makes it really clear. Although I'm not an engineer, I do appreciate that level of organization, so thank you for that. Colleagues, Madam Secretary, can we go to public comment, please?
I have no speakers for this item.
Thank you very much. Is there a motion on this item?
So moved.
Thank you. Second?
Second.
It's been moved and seconded. Let's have a vote. All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Anyone opposed? Seeing none, this item carries. Thank you very much. Madam Secretary, we're moving into item 5 on the agenda, which is public comment on anything that has come before folks on the agenda today or any other item they would like to speak. Is there any person from the public wishing to speak?
We have no one in the room, and we have no new callers on the line that's joined.
Thank you very much. That leads us to the motion to adjourn. May I have one?
So moved. Second.
Moved and seconded. Is there anyone opposed to adjourning? Thank you very much, Alex.